All right. In the meantime, if you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, you have this much in line with a Trump supporter. Even though the other guy won and your guy did not, you're both kind of treated the same way. We just talked about Lindsey Graham adding his name to the list, who cannot support Trump and won't be going to the Republican convention. And that's when Trump won. Can you imagine being a Sanders supporter where you account for much of the enthusiasm, what there is of it in the Democratic Party, and yet the rules being what they are for superdelegates and the like, you're kind of like a non-entity. And doesn't the establishment sort of rub it in? Emily Jashinksy here, Angela Morabito, Christi Kunzig. Christi, there is a point to that, right? That these forces that have galvanized each of their parties are kind of treated like Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's time to open their eyes and see that Trump is really a force to be reckoned with. They've been trying to brush him off this entire campaign season, and 17 candidates later, he's the only one still standing.
But, you know, Angela, I'm looking at the Bernie Sanders supporter. We're not in that position of being the winner yet, maybe. But throughout, they say, and Jane, Sanders was telling me this just yesterday, Bernie Sanders, the day before, I should say, we aren't treated with respect. I mean, it's very clear the party establishment, paraphrasing here, has been for the other candidate.
I think that's absolutely true on the Democratic side. You see the DNC chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, doing everything she can to shield Hillary from criticism and to
And she's not even hiding it now. Now she's just saying that any criticisms from Sanders are ridiculous.
That's true. I mean, when you have a party that is supposed to theoretically go with the will of the people, that is so blatantly trying to ignore a huge tidal wave of Bernie Sanders supporters. I'm not going to comment on whether the Sanders supporters are right or wrong. I mean, I will. I think they're wrong. But I will. So
no, but I know what you're saying. And Emily, to pick up on that theme, I always think that if you're the winner after this, you've got to go a long way toward addressing the passion of the loser's supporters. And it's not over yet. I grant that. And a flip side for Republicans. No matter what you may say of Donald Trump, he's the winner. He got the passionate support, and he accounted for the uptick in participation, the likes of which you've never seen in the party. It's how you handle that, I think, is quite crucial, right?
It's going to be really interesting for Donald Trump because, like you were saying, you have to address the losers, the passions that brought the losers as far as they did. And in the Republican race so far, it's been the other way around. The other candidates have been addressing the passions of the Trump supporters. Well, now Donald Trump, if he wants turnout in November, he's going to have to address the passions of those conservatives who didn't support him in the primary, this long primary process.
Christi, what's to stop either of those passionate supporters from forever remembering how they were treated? In other words, to be vindictive, to be Bernie Sanders supporters feel you got the short end of the stick or your concerns were sort of dismissed and not turning out to vote at all. I'm not saying vote for Donald Trump in this case, but not to vote.
I've heard a lot of people who are saying that they're just not going to vote if their candidate doesn't get it, specifically friends of mine who do support Bernie Sanders. But I think that most of them will be swayed by hopefully Trump, who's another outsider, who really will be able to take over their votes and convince them to vote for him.
Angela, what do you think of the way the Republican establishment, for, again, lack of a better term, is reacting to Mr. Trump? I'm talking about Speaker Ryan. I'm talking about, I guess, the entire Bush family. That couldn't come as a surprise. Mitt Romney not going to the convention this summer. Ditto Lindsey Graham. I'm sure the list will grow. What do you think of that?
Sure. Well, I think it's very interesting because, you see kind of two sides of this. You have the section of the GOP that says, I will, never support Trump because of the things he says or, the way that he says it or some of his opinions about social issues. You have that segment, and I think their concerns are entirely valid. And then you have another segment. There's overlap between the two, but the second part says, I can never support Trump because I wouldn't trust him to govern as a conservative. So Trump has two fronts where he really needs to reach out and convince people, one, that he would govern as a conservative, that he's not the new establishment, that he's something better. And he also needs to reach out and, show people that he would be a good representative of the country. He's got to convince
You know what I think, Emily, I'll give you the last word. I apologize. It's just bad people skills all the way around. Bad people skills.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally true. I think you can see that when you look at how the negotiations have gone between what you're calling the establishment, for lack of a better word, and the Trump supporters. It's just been a mess. So it seems like it's close right now because it's been such a long primary process, but there is a long slog to November. It's going to be interesting to see how things turn out.
All right. Thank you all very, very much.